That's actually like one of the best ways to describe people. Just to call them cool. Yeah. That's what I describe to people in my life, actually. I think she's cool. Because it's much more dramatic. It's actually like straight
Yeah, exactly.
Guy shops and guy is a whore. She doesn't divorce herself from the world.
One of the oldest professions.
You're welcome.
How is physics?
It's going.
What is that? What is that's just weird. That's some of Weekly meeting has started. We're going to go over approve the broadcast.
Alarape.
President.
Archer.
Here.
Cantz.
Here.
Dumont.
Here.
Fernandez. Fink.
Here.
Harder.
Here.
Cross Toft.
Here.
Keel.
Here.
Leonard. Lindworm.
Here.
Lockwood.
Here.
McCallum.
Here.
Knight.
Here.
Nedved.
Here.
Cohen.
Here.
Sattler.
Here.
Schock.
Here.
Seekman.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Holm.
Here.
Twing.
Here.
Wee.
Here.
Winter.
Here.
Great. The agenda is on the board on either side here. There's only one thing that's unexpected. It's an ISEE supplemental that will be read tonight. We're going to vote on unfinished business and we vote before Thanksgiving break. All in favor of approving said agenda say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great, agenda's approved. Approval of minutes, were there any edits to the minutes that you sent out? Nope. All in favor of approving the minutes that were sent out, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes approved. No report gas, however, we do have the resolution 23F011. At May. Sorry, they said at May during the presentation.
Messenger Lewis, resolution number 23F011, dated 15 November 2023. I read this last time we met.
Any questions? Okay. Yes.
Motion to vote.
Second.
Alarape.
Aye.
Archer.
Aye.
Cantz.
Aye.
Dumont.
Aye.
Fernandez.
Aye.
Fink.
Aye.
Harder.
Aye.
Roxy Toft.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Leonard.
Aye.
Lindworm. Lockwood.
Aye.
McCallum.
Aye.
Nate.
Aye.
Nedved.
Aye.
passes.
Great. New business. Resolution 23F018.
Oh, shoot, yeah, 23F. 22. And the amend
Yeah, sorry, where we're at?
on the resolution.
I fixed that.
It's still 23.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wrong year. My bad.
Okay, Kessinger Lewis, resolution number 23F018, presented on the 19th of November, 2023, originated by the Finance Committee, presented by myself. Whereas the International Society of Explosive Engineers, ISEE, has approached the Finance Committee with a supplemental request to provide funding for an upcoming conference. And whereas the appropriate paperwork has been filed with the Finance Committee, and whereas the Finance Committee has deemed $5,000 as an appropriate amount to allocate to the organization, and noting ISEE applied for general SOAP funding within the last 2 fiscal years, and noting ISEE did not request supplemental funding this past fiscal year and are eligible for the full $5,000 of supplemental funding. Therefore, be it resolved by majority vote of the Student Association Senate and the signature of the Student Association President that $5,000 be allocated from the SOAP Reverted Funds account for SA 003 to ISEE.
Any questions?
Is
Yeah.
this something that needs to be passed today?
No,
Where's the conference that they're heading to?
Las Vegas. It's not.
It's at Atlanta, Georgia.
Is it? Last 2 years ago, it was in Las Vegas.
Opposite side of the country.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is just for entrance to the conference, or it's also travel?
This is also travel.
Okay. Do you know what the breakdown is?
They're sending 10 people. They have, it's for mostly their flight costs, conference, administration for all the 10 people, and hotel rooms.
Any other questions? Okay, great. We'll see this in the future. Open discussion. Anybody have anything they want to discuss this week? Okay. Anybody? Somebody? Yeah.
Why did the SCVOR decide? Like, I know this is like a general question, but why did you decide to have classes end on Tuesday? Like Thanksgiving break to happen after Tuesday after classes?
Yeah, it's weird. So in theory, I don't actually know if the current calendar that we have had for the last 4 years is even the actual calendar. They pick days at the start of each year that are just known to be off. Like, for example, Easter, is it Friday?
Sunday.
The Good Friday, or is it Easter Monday? That
Good Friday, they get off, but Easter Monday is not off right now.
Yeah, so like Easter Monday, for the past 2 years, we've had off, but it's not even on the calendar, so they're kind of willy-nilly with how that goes. I will say that at most other universities that I've been at, they always do that Tuesday also. Yeah. There's not a good answer to your question.
So I was just curious if you because I was just like, I mean, it really doesn't bother me, but it's just kind of like one of those
It's
things.
goofy.
It's like no one's there anyway.
Yeah.
It kind of. Do teachers help you? Yeah, when you show up to those classes, because like no one's here, we might as well,
Yeah.
You need help with the homework, we got you. But like, it's just kind of interesting because.
This was something that Sam and I presented at 2 student federation meetings ago to ask about certain dates on the academic calendar, and shockingly enough, we did not have that strong of a backing from other schools.
Yeah.
So for some reason, they were not as interested as we were in making Easter Monday a permanent off day instead of having to be forgiven by the governor each year.
It isn't good. Isn't the Friday after Thanksgiving also?
That one does have to be forgiven for state employees, but not for students, correct?
Yeah.
So the Friday after Thanksgiving is always a no school day, However, state employees
Yeah.
are technically still on that day, and so the governor usually forgives.
Yeah.
Traditionally, does not make state employees come in that day.
Yeah, the calendar is very unofficial. Anything else? Okay, great, CFO report.
No report farther than seeing that supplemental next week, and if you are in an organization, send in the SOAP forms. Otherwise, you will not get any money. Please spread that out to your peers. I emailed everybody this morning, but it's due in like 2 weeks, so please send it in. End report.
Any questions about getting money? Okay, great. AP report.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second to last Senate meeting of the semester. I have a couple things I'm going to address today, mainly coming from my monthly meeting with Dr. Rankin that happened yesterday. So, reminder that next week we will be in the ballroom and Dr. Rankin will be in attendance as an open floor guest, so be on our best behavior, please. And he is coming to talk about things that he has heard in his meetings with other BOR university presidents over the course of the semester, and to just talk to us in general about what he might be curious about the student population is talking about, because there's only so much that Sam and I can convey in one half an hour to hour-long meeting once a month. So it would be nice for just having a discussion with Rankin for a couple minutes and him talking about what he's seen around and heard around the board of regents at the president's level. So next Tuesday, I'm going to be hanging out with Dean Joe and Corey for the governor's financial address, which is Tuesday at noon Mountain Time, we figured out. So if you're interested in free food and watching a governor's financial address, be sure to come on by Upper Surveck, and we'll be watching that, and everyone's welcome to go. I'm saying this because as of last week, there were only 3 people that had signed up to go, including me. So if you're interested, do show up to that.
Just tell
Yeah.
just tell us, so we have enough food. Don't just show up.
Well, yeah, let us know. Let's see. So, a couple other little things. The commencement speakers have been chosen for winter commencement this year. The CEO of Black Hills Energy is going to be receiving an honorary doctorate and speaking at commencement this year. And if you had not heard yet, the architect for the Surbeck renovation project was officially chosen yesterday. So they are getting closer to moving forward with that project. So the next Student Federation meeting, every other month they happen in person, and it just so happens that this one for the month of December is occurring in person at South Dakota State in Brookings. So on the last day of finals, I'm going to be traveling over to Brookings to go hang out with other Student Federation members, and hopefully we can have a presence there and see what we can discuss, and maybe get some people talking about at an in-person meeting in a couple weeks. So that's the bulk of my report. So any questions? Fantastic.
Okay, great. My report is focused entirely on GAF. We met with the Board of Regents employees and the representatives from other universities right before spring break. Discussed GAF with them. That's what I meant, Thanksgiving break. And we were able to see the situation that the other universities are in. And I'll summarize it by saying that we have very different funding goals and funding issues across the Board of Regents universities. We do not compare well with the other universities on paper with how much we fund. We overfund our student organizations compared to everybody else in the state. That meeting began with a comment from one of the board employees who was at Black Hills State in the past, and her comment at the start of that meeting was, organizations are lucky if they get $50 at Black Hills State. So when that was said, it was clear that it really wasn't going to be a very good venue for us to discuss our need, our perceived needs and wants as far as gap funding for our organizations go. On its face, I think that our average expenditure per organization is like $5,000,
It's closer to $7,000.
close to $7,000 per club.
They told us we're living in the lap of luxury.
Yeah, literally. So that occurred. The good outcome from that is that Heather Forney was on campus on Monday, I believe, to do with the Survey expansion, and she met with us on Monday. That meeting was informative from two main points. The first being she has a great overview of how our campus funding works, how she kind of designed it to work, how it's worked historically, and she has a great understanding of the appetite of the board to increase GAF fees across the entire system. The biggest takeaway from that meeting is that we aren't screaming into thin air. We're not punching in a dream. They understand that there are issues associated with inflation, but there's not a consensus on how to fix it statewide yet. As far as tuition freezes go, the Board of Regents in the past has not asked for officially a tuition and fee freeze from the state legislature ever. All of the tuition and all the tuition and fee freezes have occurred after the board asks for a tuition freeze. The state legislature responds with, okay, we'll give you money to offset the tuition freeze, but you also have to freeze fees. So that's essentially, it's been a requirement of being able to freeze tuition is that fees have to be frozen as well. That hasn't come from the board, that actually is coming from the state legislature. To add on top of that, there's not a large appetite in the state legislature to increase costs of college in South Dakota. Apparently, a lot of them exclaim, it costs so much to go to college in this state. I don't know if I get that. You know, not from the state. It seems like we're almost the cheapest in the country, especially for our university. So there's a disconnect, I think, maybe with the costs associated with some of these things. So that is just that's the world we're living in. We're talking about trying to get funding from the state legislature for these issues. To add on top of that, as far as specifically justifying the necessary increase in funding that we're seeking, we're having an issue with being able to compare our student organization allotments to other universities, specifically because of the inclusion of student organizations that would fall under CAM right next to things like chess club. It makes our workbook, our Excel sheet, look very funky when we have an organization that's getting $40,000 every year and we're asking, hey, we want more. And on top of that, we also actually have been pretty fiscally conservative and we've saved our money, so we have a large SOAP reserve. So we're not in crisis mode yet, and that kind of is a point against us when it comes to increasing gap. With that taken into account, there are some changes we're going to be pushing for starting hopefully this year as far as GAF allotment goes. Our goal is not to fund camp teams through the same funding mechanism that SOAP teams are funded through, or SOAP organizations are funded through. That doesn't mean cutting any of the money that goes to either of those two groups, but if you subtract camp teams or teams that could easily be included under the umbrella of camp, the original $400,000 allotment that goes to SOAP every year would be cut in half to about $200,000. So $200,000 of those dollars go to teams that should be in camp. Our goal is to separate out camp teams, have them exist under their own department in GAF, and allot money, not teach team individually, but allot that same amount of money to camp as an organization. There are two fully there are 2 employed, people that work there to manage camp. Our goal is for them to be able to allocate money to each camp team in a more organized and needs-based manner than currently exists. It's hard to justify soap presentations from Formula being right next to soap presentations from the Wellness Club. It seems like there are 2 drastically different types of clubs that are being funded through soap. So that's our goal going forward. There are logistics that's going to be worked out. I need to reiterate that we're not trying to cut the amount of money that goes to anything. We're in fact trying to tie the amount of money that goes to camp teams to a percentage of GAF. That means that it wouldn't fluctuate. It would be consistent, it would allow more consistency and more forecasting for the future for large expenditures for camp. But we want to make our allotment of money to student organizations more of an analog to the other universities. That way you can look at our Excel worksheet and say, hey, this looks more like a normal university. Because currently having, multiple clubs on there that are getting over $10,000 for national or international competitions, it kind of throws our averages out of whack. And if we're being honest, the fluctuation of, how much does soap want to allot this year, how much can we allot, might be hard for some of these teams to plan for the future. If they're their own funding thing in GAP, it would be easier. Any questions?
So, last semester when you pulled up that, sheet that had like athletics, student engagement, it would kind of be separated.
Camp would be its, our goal is for camp to be its own thing and soap to be its own thing, yes.
Just to clarify, what qualifies an org for camp?
That's gonna need to be
That's,
defined more clearly.
it seems like competition does,
Competition outside of this campus.
yeah.
But that's something that's going to be defined,
Exactly.
clearly separate, okay.
Yeah, and we're only a week into this so far. I don't necessarily see this as an awful thing. It seems a little more organized, but it'll be complex.
It seems like it's not really a solution to the problem, though. It's not necessarily.
I somewhat agree with you and I somewhat don't.
Maybe in the long run.
We're not going to be able to, it's not going to save us much money.
Yeah.
But what it'll allow us to do is to better organize our expenditures to student organizations.
Okay.
So that we can better define the need to increase GAF for normal student organizations.
So it's meant to help like 10.
It's meant to help, honestly, not camp teams. It's meant to help the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're essentially trying to change our image of our finances to other schools?
Not change our image. We want to better organize how we allot money, allowing us to have camp be a fixed percentage of GAF every year. Which means that it can't fluctuate drastically. If we look into the past, somebody looking at our university's budgets from the outside would scream foul when they saw the large increase that camp expenditures have had year over year in the past decade. Well, in the past 4 years even. It's really increased from what it used to be. We know on campus here that these aren't extra costs. We know that a lot of these are entirely defined and justified expenditures, but it looks like there's just glut in the system. So we want a more structured way to allocate money that essentially defends from that accusation.
Is this something that would have to be dealt with on a BOR level or a state level, or is it simply internal within the university?
Only internal to, in theory, only internal to GAFAC and the Student Senate.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are a few other universities in the BOR right now that have competition teams that are like our camp teams, and the schools that don't have a budget issue at the moment because they don't have as high of student involvement in organizations on campus. So they have more free gap dollars floating around. Every student on this camp, much higher percentage of students on this campus actually use their gap dollars, and on other campuses you could argue they don't make as good of use of them. So they aren't experiencing the same budget tightness that we're experiencing because all of our students are so much more involved in these clubs. What we're going to do is take these competition teams, these camp teams that are arguably almost closer to an athletic team in the way they function, with high spending and having to travel to large competitions and spending large money on equipment and other things, and separating them from teams that need to make one or two purchases a year for very little things that are a couple $100 or less. So out of our $400,000 and some asking budget for the year, if you take only, we funded 80 some teams last year, if you take out only 12 to 15 teams from that, we cut over $200,000. It's just those couple of teams that are generally acting closer to an athletic team than they are to a traditional student board.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna also mention that this would take off some of the pressure that finance committee has when determining how much other SOAP groups will get. Because right now they are taking up over 50% of the SOAP budget, and this would help us better allocate funds to the smaller organizations on campus. If they have their full-time staff members doing the allocating for their individual camp teams.
Yeah. In the past, or currently I guess, competition or when camp teams all have their own presentation, they all ask for their own money from SOAP. The goal is to not have those presentations right next to other presentations, to have it go through a standardized, I guess, organizational tree, exactly like athletics, like you mentioned, exactly like athletics, yeah.
It's basically just like a reorganizing of our books to help us, to help finance committee, and to also help other schools and BOR look on us and be like, make it make more sense.
It makes more sense that
because
way.
they don't have camp teams.
Yeah.
And the ones that do don't have
As many. Nowhere near. Yeah.
Okay, so two questions. So one, have you talked with Amy and Amber yet?
I've reached out to Amy and to schedule a meeting. Amber is aware of this. I sat down and talked with her about it. Amy is not yet. I'm awaiting a response from meeting time to meet with executive of Student Senate.
Okay. And the second question is then, if camp gets like a glob of money out of GAP, then are camp teams fighting with each other to split like that amount, or?
So essentially, our hope, and of course, we're not going to do any changes unless there's actually structure in place, because it already is complicated, but it works right now. So we're not going to change to something without a structure plan. But the expected structure is each team will still do the exact same style of presentation they currently get to SOAP, but it will be in-house, and they all know that they're only getting this percentage of GAP in total. So that allows the leaders, like the employees that manage camp, they have a better understanding of the pros and cons of spending money through those camp teams than we can. They have a much more granular understanding of it.
And the one thing we talked about during leadership too is there were a couple of camp teams last year that didn't spend budget at all. And so does this allow, if it goes through camp, to allow those funds to be better spent on one of the other teams that may need some kind of else?
And in addition to this, I know camp is pushing towards this direction already, but camp has accounts with certain more industry supply stations, and they're able to get things that might be better suited and at better cost for camp teams than currently just the teams going out and Amazoning something right now or ordering third party themselves. When camp actually has accounts to be able to do some of these things, they might be able to actually run this better, being employees that do this full time and not just a student group.
Yeah, and it would help because we have some camp teams that did not attend the first few SOAP workshops, so they would automatically not be eligible for the funds that they could be given if it was decided by the full-time staff members
And then the very last point that we mentioned in passing, earlier today was, as far as fundraising goes, if you look at how athletics fundraises, they can organize together, to handle some of that, whereas currently, the way that SOAP organizations are set up, they each individually essentially are on their own. There could be a better structure for camp to help camp, than currently exists, if they're more organized like this. Yeah.
What are other thoughts or feelings on this?
Yeah.
We're bringing this up to you guys because we wanna know your thoughts.
Just some vibes.
I have a question, so like the concrete canoe supplementals, would this help mitigate not doing that, like not having supplementals?
This could possibly push us in that direction,
Yeah.
given that each team would have a set hard budget that
So,
they have.
so currently, our current budget is set up, supplementals are supposed to come entirely from our, SOAP reserves. That's how we function. That's why everything, flips back to reserves if you don't spend it. In theory, the goal would be years down the road that camp would function much like SOAP currently functions. So if they don't spend all their money, they would flop it back to an account that could be used to cover those, going forward. I don't know what that buffer period would be. This will take time, of course, for them to build up an amount of extra, saved money to cover those things.
Follow up, would camp, if they separate it, would camp be eligible to come to the student senate and ask for some supplementals then?
We would have to rearrange how the budget would work because they would not have access to the SOAP reserves account like they do currently.
Yeah.
The one quick thing that I would add to that, we've had gap-funded groups come to Senate before after our budget allocations, like I think counseling we did several years ago, because we needed additional funding for a counselor, and additional, it's just a similar process, but a little bit different, so it would just look different on that.
So it'd be more like SOAP as a whole coming forward and asking for more, or not SOAP, camp.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it would be like the
Yeah.
organization.
No, yeah, the goal is not to, have each individual camp team, essentially ask for a specified amount of money. The goal is for it to all go through an organized chain.
I think this sounds like a great idea from all facets, except I would want to stress to all the camp members that this doesn't mean they're gonna lose money.
Exactly,
Because I
that's
feel
why
like that's gonna be the primary
yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
The other thing that we're going to have to make aware is there are currently teams that exist that are competition teams that are purposely holding out from camp due to oversight from faculty and extra management, and I understand that feeling, and I'm aware that it exists. We're well aware this is gonna make people upset.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be happy for everyone, but, this is going to be for the greater good of all the teams.
Are you saying you're gonna force all competition teams to go camp?
Not necessarily. We don't even have an explicit rundown of what a camp team would be. We just don't want to fund competition teams that travel nationally or internationally right next to teams that don't, right next to clubs that don't. We don't want those, it's essentially, it's like the definition of porn. I don't know where it is, but I know when I see it. I can tell that a team that's, going to Atlanta shouldn't be there. That's a good statement. I don't know.
So are you gonna base the definition of camp teams based off where they travel or how much money they require?
I would assume that it probably is travel at all, but we don't have a definition yet, so I don't even have a answer for you.
One quick thing that I would add to that, so when Amy was hired, and Dr. Briggs could be another person that could be at the meeting, there was a new kind of strategic plan or vision for what camp was going to be as well, and bringing other teams to the table. So I think once you get that information of what they're trying to do with camp as a whole too, will help you get there.
Because not every team that's a part of camp currently has to build something, right? Like right now, esports is part of camp, right? So just being a competition team, you don't have to necessarily manufacture something and travel somewhere to be a member of camp.
Any other vibes? Okay, great.
Tell your constituents about
Yeah,
this.
please.
Get some feelers out there and let us know what some thoughts are next week, please.
Also,
Actually,
yes.
I know you're waiting to hear back from Amy.
Mhm.
Should,
Amy and Amber together.
yeah,
We wait.
I don't know, out of respect for, like, I guess I would feel weird if
All
students were
that's
talking about it before they directly knew.
Maybe don't. I'm not, it's not a secret. It's not a secret. We're not a secret.
Put a pin in it, and we'll discuss it when we know a little more.
Yeah.
Choose discretion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's being streamed, right?
Yeah, but nobody ever wants.
Sorry.
If you do discuss this with anybody, we're not trying to cut money from camp teams. That's not the goal of this. We're not trying to lower the funding levels of any of these organizations.
Do we have some later point and have like a open forum on this?
That would be extremely wise on our end.
Okay, yeah, great. Thank you for indulging me there. International report.
So I have two things in my report. One, thanks for showing up at Diwali and helping out. It was a great success, so thanks. Two, Senator McCallum and I met Cedric from the Center of Institution. Thanks to Senator McCallum for organizing the meeting. We discussed about some things we could do to improve the interactions between students, professors, and international teams and stuff. So yeah, it was a great conversation.
Any questions? Okay, veterans report.
Yeah. So I got some feedback from the nice folks in the registrar's office about what is a veteran. And I'm just gonna give the Cliff Notes version of this email chain. So the federal definition is a person who served in the active military, Navy, or Air Service, and who was discharged or released therefrom under conditions other than dishonorable. And the school kind of has three primary ways that uses to track who is or who identifies as a veteran. So they can either identify during the application process, or they can identify themselves. And then when they use benefits, or when they select to use benefits, that goes to the registrar's office. So that's the other way they do it. And then if they choose not to use their benefits, they can just either go to the VRC or go to the registrar's office. It's be like, hey, I'm a veteran, and they'll be like, okay, cool. And mark it down that way. And then I'm also going to read what Derek Sloan also had to say, because I think it would be good to hear also. I'm assuming this has to do with the effort to waive application fees for veterans. If so, I have tried to explain leniency fees for veterans, active military, and card. To the question of what is a veteran, there are several ways to look at it, as you've noticed. Some could say if you have a DD-214, which is the form you get after service, you qualifies with that. However, generally, you need to serve at least 180 days for the government to recognize you as a veteran and to be eligible for benefits such as the VA. And that's really all I had from this email chain, but if that information is helpful for you guys moving forward, or if you guys have any other questions, just let me know.
Still seems vague, but like at least there's like a federal definition that they can use.
I was gonna say, like the last guy you mentioned, you have to include veterans, National Guard, and that because most National Guard members, unless they have been deployed, don't count as veterans. They don't have their active
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, great. Moving on to non-grad. Oh, where's Steve? I did skip you. I'm so sorry. Graduate report. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, non-grad report.
Nothing.
Okay, we're moving on to constitution report.
Thanks for voting on the ATMAE. I think that'll probably be the last board for this semester. So thank you for choosing this whole throughout this semester.
Any questions about the constitution? Okay, PR.
Next week is our last meeting in Auburn, so encourage your friends and not friends, I guess, to come.
Can we ask once more if we can get the wall open and see if there's any custodial staff around?
I'll check, but the problem was last time that there's no custodians who will be there after the meeting to shut the doors.
Mhm.
So I'll see, but I'm gonna
I
say.
just figured asking
Yeah.
if there's another event happening on campus and they're around, so. Cause they did say it would take
Yeah,
less
we
than
can
2
check.
hours and could be free, so I don't see harm in asking.
Any other questions? Okay, GR.
We're compiling right now an email to send out to the legislatures and like that kind of have governance over Rapid City to be like, hey, can you guys like help us with the security issue because it's a statewide issue. It's the big thing we're doing right now. Other than that, yeah, that's the biggest thing. I have something else than announcement. So with that.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Great. Essay.
No report.
Any questions? Awesome. Any ad hoc committees?
So I've talked to Perry Marks today. I'm hoping to get a meeting set up on Wednesday next week before the meeting to see what we can do about security cameras for the next phase, and then hopefully get started on that for the second semester.
Yeah. Start of next semester, we're gonna have the parking ad hoc, we're gonna start at the start of next semester as well. Yes.
I met with Wellness Committee, in general, and they were just talking, they just had a couple things that I think that senators should know, tell their friends, tell other people, that's very important. We have the Swipe Out Hunger, part in campus, so if you're out of meals, you know, some people can't afford meals, and like, that's a problem for you. We have about 879, swipes left, so if someone needs to utilize that, obviously utilize that. They never told me where to go, but I mean, if you know that, no.
Anybody that works with
Yep, okay, so those are the people that you get in contact with that, and they also brought up, this is just kind of something to throw in the air, they wanted to see if Senate would do a wellness fair booth. The theme is board game, it's just something to think about. I haven't told anyone else, so like, this is literally, everyone just got thrown into it right now, so that's just something that as a Senate we can think about, and yeah, other than that, Wednesday the 6th is late night breakfast, and massages will happen the 5th of December as well for that. So,
Just real quick on the massages, because we could only get one massage therapist, we're doing it over 2 days, so same amount of slots. So Chris in my office will send that email out to students tomorrow. So be watching for it because they will fill up quickly.
If I can add one thing on the Swipe Up Hunger. So if a student says, yes, I can use a little bit of help, and I get 10 and 20 meals, whatever, it's not like an embarrassing coupon or anything. We literally would just put them on your ID, which most of you have on your phone. So you would just scan in, just like you have a normal meal, and nobody would know any different. So if you're talking to anybody and like, well, I could use some meals, but I don't know, I'm embarrassed, it's completely natural. It's not a weird thing at all.
Inclusion committee met last week or the week before, I don't recall, and they are working on sending out a survey to the staff in the spring that is cultural competency / bias survey to see where we're ranking as a university. They did it in 2014 and 2019, so they're interested to see what the results are going to be for this year, and then I'm sure there's going to be some seminars discussing the results and what they mean and steps moving forward. So,
do we know what we ranked in 2014 and?
It didn't change from 2014 to 2019.
Was it bad?
We were like
Wasn't great.
mid-tier.
Oh, okay. Not bad.
Could have been better, but could have been worse.
Yeah.
I don't recall exactly, or I'm not equipped to speak on exactly the results. So talk to Cedric in the inclusion office. But
okay. Any other questions about it? Is it about that?
Yeah.
Okay, you go first. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not like, you're ranked out of 10 or something.
Yes.
There's a couple different, I don't know.
Levels, almost.
Yeah, levels, and then you're in kind of a range. Yeah, so you need a whole slideshow to.
Yeah.
It's a complicated quiz.
For sustainability ad hoc, the environmental change was wondering if Senate had a specific connection, like staff connection or anyone on campus to kind of like hold meetings with about sustainability on campus.
We have a sustainability coordinator. It's she shared halftime at Blackwood State, halftime here. Is that part of your group here? Is she part of the committee? Ava, I think her name is.
Her email isn't on the ad hoc list.
Do you want me to email your contact?
Anything else?
Also about the Placer Hall elevator, they're getting that fixed. That's just something for general knowledge. They understand that like students, if you can't like if you have problems with like getting up to a room and like that's like an issue because of disabilities or anything like that, if you talk to Katie Walsh, she'll relocate you to try to get you accommodated. That's just something I thought I'd mention as well because I forgot to read
On that note, Nalarape, there was a message put out to all of our residents and senior staff. We have a program now beginning next semester where for anyone that lives in a hall on campus, you will be given weekly to monthly updates on current work orders affecting your building. That way there's a better communication system because right now it's just on a as asked upon basis. So we're going to be starting a program about making sure that those things are actually communicated on a regular basis, even if there is no update right now, at least everyone's on the same page.
Okay, great. As far as announcement, upcoming Senate business, we of course have something next week. It's in the ballroom. Please attend, like you guys have to. Please dress business casual. We're going to try to put our best looks on. Look professional as we normally should be looking for Dr. Rankin. I haven't been very good about that. I apologize for forming that habit with you guys, so we'll be business casual next week. Yeah, so we have Secret Santa next week also. I know for a fact that I didn't make a wish list that I should have made. I hope I'm the only one that didn't do that. But yeah, so everybody plan for that immediately following Student Senate. Anything else? It's good food. It'll be great. My final point is, if you guys have missed meetings and you guys have accrued a substantial number of points, we could, of course, have like individual trials to kick people off Civic, or we could demand penance via like hours of service or doing something at a booth or something. I'm leaning towards the latter, but that's just up to you guys. I think the latter is probably better for everybody involved and for us. But that'll be dealt with starting at the beginning of next semester. Cool.
This includes absences from committee meetings as well. Your committee chairs have been tracked on this.
Yeah. So we're hoping it'll be a great semester of service.
Sources tell me that there is only 1.857 fortnights until Christmas.
So close. Anything else? Yeah.
Yep. So reminder, if you do want to attend the governor's address, December 5th at noon, it usually lasts about 40 minutes. Just let me know so I can order the right amount of food. And then the December 6th, it's tacos after the Senate meeting. There's beef, chicken, vegetarian, but if anybody has any like dietary needs beyond that, just let me know in private so to make sure that there's an option for you. Thank you.
Great freeze is going on right now. Go vote for your favorite tree. There's free cookies over there.
Yeah, Sam kind of stole my announcement.
I need to make a wish list.
Yeah, everyone get a wish list.
Anything else?
Where is Secret Santa? Is it in the ballroom?
Yeah, you've got that.
Are you rapping?
What? Did you ask for rapping? Yes, we are. Okay. Is that it? Any motions to do anything? Motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourn, say aye. Aye.